Grade 11 students, I am Sir Arnold and welcome to Personal Development class. Conduct a mini survey on Filipino relationships. That's family, school, and community. Social relationship with with the families, school, and community and middle late adolescence. We cannot deny that establishing relationship is vital to everyone. Looking for company during the Middle Ages sometimes gravitate the relationships and attachments of an individual to their peers. Filipinos, for instance, are very much close to family, relatives, and even acquaintances. Relationship needs interaction among individuals, which involves influence. Individual influences have an effect on your behavior, which may help or hinder you from fulfilling your social rules. Moreover, it is inevitable that someone may agree or disagree with you because there is no perfect world that everything goes well with you. Not everybody says yes and makes a nod with your thoughts, opinions, and values, which means disagreements can be pretty common, especially in society where you lived in. If how people see you is what enables you to connect to others authentically and to reap the deep satisfaction that comes with those ties. Establishing connections and relations is needed in the place where you are and the organizations where you belong. In this lesson, you will further deepen how the Filipino relationships are common to every people. Adolescents by conducting a mini survey. In the company of their peers, usually from the school or neighborhood. As they gravitate more toward these groups, the attachment to the family as their primary source or personal development shifts to these peers or group. Being able to create friendship and new attachment is critical in the development of adolescents as they transcend to young adulthood. From high school to college, adolescents nurture faster socially where new lessons are learned, especially on how their social interactions are formed. They affirm themselves with self-identity and self-esteem develop their capacity to nurture who they are in such way learning to associate and develop relationships is nurtured in this stage. Relationship is very common to all individuals. Social relationship refers to the connection that exists between people who have recurring interaction that are perceived by the participants to have personal meaning. This description or definition includes relationship between family members, friends, neighbors, fellow workers, and other associates. Relationships shape is the way in which two or more people or groups regard and behave toward each other. There are many different types of relationships. In this topic, we will focus on three types of relationships. Family relationships, friendships, acquaintanceship, and community relationships. Family relationships or relatives are people we are connected to thought some form of kinships such as parents, brothers and sisters, grandparents, aunts and uncles, or step-parents. The family includes siblings and parents you may see every day growing up. And other relatives such as cousins, aunts, uncle, and grandparents you may not see frequently. Friends are people we are not related to but to choose to interact with. A friend is a person whom one knows and with whom one has a bond of mutual affection, typically exclusive of sexual and or family relations. Friends are people we trust, respect, care about, and feel that we can confide in and want to spend time with. Friends are close to you whom you can confide in. Acquaintances are people you are encounter oftentimes but are not friends or relatives. For instance, they may be a neighbor who live in your road, a work colleague, or someone you have seen a few times at a social event but do not yet know well. Acquaintances are persons whom you know slightly but who is not a close friend. Community relations simply describe a company's interaction with the community in which it resides. Cambridge Dictionary defines it is a relationship that a company or organization has with the people who live in the area in which it operates. Building community relationships can be the most important communication activity undertaken by the organization for the good of the community. So let's talk about Filipino relationships. It's include family, school, and community. Filipinos' perspective in building family relationship is focused on establishing close ties. Filipinos are very hospitable and friendly people. They always smile no matter how they feel. Meeting someone for the first time, Filipinos do not hesitate to give a smile before starting a conversation. Filipinos have close family ties and always wanted to talk about their extended family. Filipinos are very family oriented. Now let's tackle about school. Homeschool partnership occurs through the processes of cooperation, coordination, and collaboration to enhance learning opportunities, educational progress, and school success for students in the academic, social, emotional, and behavioral domain. According to M. Johnson in 2015, homeschool partnership stated that children's learning is incredibly moving toward a broader vision of the 21st century learning. As the children's education increasingly occur across a range of settings, parents are uniquely positioned to help ensure that this setting best support their children's specific learning needs. Parental involvement is observed in the school setting in the Philippines. The amount of participation a parent has when it comes to the schooling of his or her children fosters healthy outcomes. Thus, parental involvement is needed in children's education. According to Castellon and A. Bonotan, the dynamics of homeschool partnership in young learners' performance from the lens of kindergarten teachers, conference, classroom projects, contribution, partnership is strengthened with the three R's: rapport, reaching out, recognition to parents. Involved parents beget confident, sociable, and active kids. Less involved parents tend to have kids who are timid, withdrawn, and perform less. Parenting is important in the Philippine educational setting because family is viewed as a center to one's social world. Now, how about community? Many of today's leaders in education, business and community development are coming to realize that schools alone cannot prepare our youth for a productive adulthood. It is evident that schools and communities should work closely with each other to meet their mutual goals. Schools can provide more support for students, families, and staffs when they are an integral part of the community. Appropriate or and effective collaboration and teaming are seen as key factors to community development, learning, and family self-sufficiency. Parent partnerships should be considered as connections between schools and community resources. So here are the partnership or the list of partnership we involve in the following. First is utilization of school or neighborhood facilities and equipment or giving out other resources. Second, collaborative fundraising and grant applications giving assistance. Third, mentoring and training from professionals and others with special expertise. Four, information sharing and dissemination. 5. Networking, recognition, and public relations. 6. Shared responsibility or for planning. Then 7 is implementation and evaluation of programs and services. 8 is expanding opportunities for internship, jobs, recreation, and building a sense of community. If school and community connected or in partnership can intertwine many resources and strategies to enhance communities that support all youth and their families. They could make school better, strengthen neighborhoods, and lead to a noticeable depletion in young people's problems. Building such partnership requires visioning, strategic planning, creative leadership, and new adaptable rules for professionals who works in schools and communities. So, when conducting a mini survey, Filipino relationship are observed in the family, school, community, and other agencies. Find out how social relationship occurs in the lives of teenagers by conducting mini survey. In conducting a mini survey, you have to know how it is done. Mini survey are carefully focused on a specific topic. It contains only 15 to 30 questions. It is given to a small sample of 25 to 70 people. It usually uses more closed than open-ended questions. That is, they use questions that force the respondent to choose from a small set of alternative answers, rather than inviting a free expanded comment. So here are some of the mini surveys. First is to get a picture that will help you to design the next stages of your research. Second is to assess the feasibility of a project. Then third, to get reactions from the beneficiaries to evaluate projects. So there is also an advantages of mini survey. A mini survey can be completed in 3 or 7 weeks compared to large surveys that can take a year. Before the whole process to be completed, a result analyzed. First is technically mini surveys for development research are usually structured interviews rather than questionnaires because questionnaires exclude people who cannot read. Interviews have the added advantage of allowing to help people through a process that may be culturally alien, confusing, or intimidating. The respondents are few. A mini survey may not give you great precision. It may be good enough to give you a general picture of the situation, trends, and patterns. Then here are the steps in conducting a mini survey. Step 1, clarify your objectives. Ask yourselves. Just like what do I want to find out and why? Is this technique the way to get this kind of information? When I get the answers to these questions, will they meet my needs? So that is step 1. Then step 2, find out that what else has been done there. Are ready-made survey questions which were utilized by some researchers may be good enough for your purposes. This may provide you with some useful ideas and information and will allow you to use for your study. This may also let you go a step a little further for it gives a little ease to do. However, do not automatically use someone else's questions unless you are convinced they will work for you. Then step number 3. Choose the respondent first. You must decide whether you are going to ask your questions of the entire group or second you use sampling. Then step number 4, develop your question prepares your questions to be asked from your respondents. Learn to write good questions by thinking things through and by knowing about the people who will answer them. So that are the steps in conducting a mini survey. The next one is guide in writing questions, the do's and don'ts. The following guidelines for writing questions were adopted from the work of, cross-cultural research experts Verslin, Lohner, and Thorndike in 1973, who created them to help in translating questions from one language to another, but they are useful even when you do not have to translate. First is use short, simple sentence of less than 16 words. However, sensitive questions may require a softener. Then second is use the active rather than the passive voice. Should teachers discipline the students rather than should discipline be carried out by the teachers? Then number three, repeat nouns instead of using pronouns. When the teacher saw memorandum, he was terrified. Who was terrified? Then number four, avoid metaphors and colloquialism. Earl and LM agreed, but Eloise thought that was a horse of a different color. The number five, guidelines number five, is avoid the subjective mood, such as verbs with could and would. If the school could improve its security system, would people send more girls? Avoid vague words such as nearer, often, and frequent. Would you like to live nearer to Baguio? Then number six, avoid possessive forms where possible. Mila's sister took her request to her teacher. Whose request? Whose teacher? Then number seven, use specific rather than general terms. The chief or the chief, the teacher, rather than the authorities, the soccer club, the debating team, rather than the extracurricular activities. The number eight, avoid words with two different verbs and if the verb suggests two different actions. Should villagers attend the challenges, the teachers at the parent-teacher meetings? That ends our topic about conducting a mini survey on Filipino relationships. Now with your pen and paper, let's answer the following questions. Number one, which institution has the responsibility for developing the personal relationships in teenage life? Is it A, family, B, school, C, community, D, barangay office? If you answer letter A, family, then you are correct. Number two, who could influence more in the development of teenagers as they transcend to young adolescent? Is it A, classmates in high school and college, B, friendship and attachment, C, family members and relatives, D, school and the teachers? If you answer a letter B, friendship and attachment, then you are correct. Number three, what is a social relationship? Is it A, refers to society in the place where he or she belongs? B, refers to the emotional relationship of individuals. C, refers to the marital relationships. D, refers to the connection that exists between people who have recurring interaction that are perceived by the participants to have personal meaning. If you answer letter D, refers to the connection that exists between people who have recurring interaction that are perceived by the participants to have personal meeting, then you are correct. Number four, what is an acquaintance? A person whom you are always with. B, a person one knows slightly but who is not a close friend. C, a person you met every day who is very close to you. D, a person who knows you but you do not know them. If you answer letter B, a person one knows slightly but who is not a close friend, you are correct. Number five, how can home and school partnership develop the social relationship of an adolescent? A, the school brothers the mind of the students. B, the school involves the parents in its various activities. C, the school and the home create a collaborative environment to the students. D, the school suggests improvement for students' academic performance. If you answer letter C, the school and the home create a collaborative environment to the students, then you are correct. And that ends our class for today. Once again, this is your personal development teacher, Sir Arnold, saying the search of the self continues every day. Thank you and goodbye.